Hi everyone, back to the Evermore YouTube channel. It's Chris back with the Aftermath. That's right, this is the show that we do when the dust has settled from the post-match, from the last game. It's very passionate and instant when you do a post-match reaction. Sometimes you don't see things maybe as clearly. It's time to take a think, take a breath, and then come back and revisit it and just do a quick summary really of it. It's a very cold day in the northeast, as you can tell by my fisherman attire. No, I have not tied my boat to the port side. I am about to go outside in the freezing cold, and I just thought I'd do this video beforehand. And secondly, my hair is nearly as much of a mess as the PGMOL. More on them in a second. But going back to the game yesterday, my biggest take from the game was it wasn't a pretty performance, but it was a resolute, gritty, determined performance from Newcastle United to get those points against a decent Spurs team that was decimated with injury and illnesses. And, Big Ange just taking a lot of abuse for his kind of childish antics on the sideline. That's a manager under pressure, there is no doubt about that. He's lost a lot of games and he's under a lot of pressure from the fan base, probably feels the tug on his collar as well. So he's lashing out a little bit, saying, fair and equal playing field. He's probably accusing the referee of not being fair there. We'll get into the referee in a second, but Spurs did miss big players, there's no doubt about it. But it's a weird one with Spurs. We'll talk about this on what's going on tomorrow at 9:30. But you had Maddison and Son on the bench, two of their best players. No doubt the game changed up a level when they both came on, but very weird to let Maddison go out to the darts when he's supposed to be so ill. He can't train. That shows a bit of a lack of discipline for me from the manager in terms of Ange Postecoglou. I'm not a Spurs fan, but if I was a Spurs fan, I'd be pretty pissed off seeing stuff like that. But you can't sit there and start blaming the referee when you've let one of your better, most creative players not have a night rest in the house and be ready for the game to start maybe, and he's on the bench. So there's something you need to ask yourself. And we're going back to the game itself. We didn't start very well. That was good to see that Newcastle were able to come back from being a goal down, because the last few games we've dominated, we've gone in front early, and we've had a game to control, put the foot on the throat and really go for it, and we've managed to execute that perfectly. But it was different at the weekend because obviously Solanke gets the goal, he pulls off Botman, who was a little bit rusty going back into the game. We'll get back into Botman in a second there because I was so impressed with him overall. So we go back behind, and it was great to get a goal back so quickly. We'll get into the controversy in a minute, but going back to Sven Botman, what a performance from a lad who's been out for 10 months. That performance showed you how much we've missed this player. Dan Burn has been exemplary at the back. Shares had his moments, but Sven Botman is just a cut above anything we have in the squad, to be honest with you. He's been out 10 months, and forget the first rick in the first 10 minutes of the game. After that, he was imperious, block after block, challenge after challenge, positionally brilliant. Good on the ball, even though he wasn't back. It was Sven Botman best. You could still see the quality on the ball. And it was very interesting for me that the decision was made to bring Sven in and not Lloyd Kelly. That probably tells me that Eddie's not maybe impressed with Lloyd Kelly in terms of him being ready to come in and fill a key part of the squad. I think what I've seen of Lloyd Kelly so far, I've not been very impressed with. I know he was a free transfer, but I'm not sure he makes us any better. Is he better than Lascelles? I don't think so. Is he better than Kraft? I honestly don't think so. So I think Lloyd Kelly's maybe shown he's not quite ready to step into a game as big, as important as that. And Eddie has to have the trust in the player, and he had the trust in Botman, who for me delivered. Went off obviously with a bit of a niggle. Hopefully it's just fatigue, and he'll be fine for Arsenal Tuesday, because my God, do we need him. But going on to the controversial equaliser, for me this is utter nonsense. Some of the shit I've seen going out there in the media, not just from the Spurs fans. I get it from the Spurs fans, they're pissed off the loss and they need something to blame it on. But Newcastle were pressing anyway, and I think we would have got that goal regardless. But you look at is it Bergwijn passes the ball, Joe Litton goes to close it, his arm's right down by his side, Bergwijn tries to curl it around him and it hits Joe Litton's hand. It then drops to Bruno Guimaraes, who has to make the pass to Anthony Gordon, who scores the goal. So for starters, it's not a handball that's leading directly to a goal. If it hit Joe Litton's hand and fell to Gordon and he scored, then I think you'd have grounds to complain. But it falls to Bruno has to find the pass, and then the goal goes in. So it's not a direct handball leading to a goal. There's a pass in between. So that means it's not a handball. But literally, where is he going to put his hand? His hand is down by his side. It could have hit any other part of his body, but it hit his hand. So it's not a handball. It's ball to hand. And the goal should have rightly stood. Ex-referees have come out and said it as well. It's just people looking for clicks and likes and profile, coming out with ridiculous hyperbole like Goldbridge and Paddy Power. I don't know who the fuck hacked their account. Sound like a Spurs fan with 4 or 5 beers in, saying that Newcastle could pick up the ball and run rugby style and get away with it. It was pathetic from Paddy Power. It really, really was. I'm not a gambling man. If you are, bet responsibly, but that was utter fucking nonsense from you lot, and you need to have a word with whoever does your social media, because it looked pathetic. But going back into the game itself, we obviously get the second goal. When we controlled the midfield, Tonali, Bruno, Joe Litton covered so much ground. Me and Mark will get into that with more detail, and Mark slides as well on Monday night. But We controlled that midfield, and because of that, the second goal come, and we were in front of the game, and rightly so. We deserved to be in front of the game. It should have been 3 or 4-1 up, really. Spurs bring on their big hitters, and they did put a bit more pressure on, but we defended resolutely. We hung in there. But this referee, my fucking God, this referee was abysmal for both sides. You know, Spurs are kicking off about the handball, right? The Kulusevski challenge on Gordon, where he breaks his fucking nose. If that's not a penalty, I don't know what is. He smashes into him. People are saying there's no malice in the challenge, and there might not be. But when you run into somebody with pace in a box like that and you batter them and you put him on his arse to the point where you break his nose, that's a penalty. That should have been looked at. It was looked at by VAR. I don't know what they were looking at in VAR. They're probably watching Netflix, because that should have been a penalty. I've seen expressions call them VARS holes, VAR holes. And he's right, because they are. That was pathetic. And the challenge by Solanke on Dubravka was dangerous. That could have easily been a red. So Spurs can moan about a handball, but Newcastle can moan about them. And not to mention the consistency of the PGMOL. Fuck me. This is the same referee who added 10 minutes on yesterday. I don't know where he found that from. It ended up being nearly 13 minutes by the time he let it run. The same referee, after 5 seconds beyond the allotted time, blew the whistle when Newcastle were on the break against Liverpool at St James's and were most likely going to win that game 4-3. The same referee blew the whistle then. It's utterly fucking pathetic. There's no consistency with the PGMOL. It's an absolute disgrace of an organisation. It needs to be sorted. I saw Billy on the Toon Review say they need a clock in the stadium and they stop it when people go down, and that's what they need to do for me. Get a digital clock there, stop it when people are going down, and then you can count how long it takes in terms of the time to be added on, because absolutely ridiculous. Mic the referees up, make it transparent, make it clear why you're adding 10 minutes injury time on. If I was Eddie Howe, I'd be going fucking mad about that. We won the game, so we probably won't go as mad. But if we'd drawn that game, you should have rightly so went as mad. But Newcastle dug in and won resolutely, gritty, determined, as I say. Bodes really well for going into Arsenal on Tuesday, because we're not going to have the ball a lot. We're going to be up against it. Arsenal had a disappointing draw, so they'll be probably looking to attack us. Would have been a menace as well. But, you know, Arsenal aren't all that. You know, we've had their number a couple of times. I think if we dig in well, we defend well, catch them on the break, we may even nick ourselves a goal to take them back to St James's and smash them in the second leg. It's great to have Botman back. He's been a miss, you know, and for me, I think the way our midfield's playing, the 4 Isaacs in, Gordon, Murphy as well. You know, we've got to go to the Emirates with no fear. Me and Mark will get into it on Monday night. We'll do a full match preview and post-match on Tuesday. Keep it ever more in the meantime, guys. Click like and subscribe. Help the channel grow. Have a belter weekend. Wrap it warm. It's cold. Watch your footing outside. You might slip and fall over as much as Porro did for Spurs the other day. But have a cracking weekend. We'll catch you later. Cheers.